Have you accepted the journey yet? That is what I'm going to talk about today. You know, we may think we've accepted the journey onto becoming who we came here to be. But then we hit a bump. Then we hit the wall. Then it starts to get emotionally difficult. And then I'm going to ask, in those moments that it starts to get emotionally difficult, that moments when you mess up a day and you feel like all the limiting beliefs start to set in and the world seems to come crashing down to you. In those moments where your success seems like such a small sliver that is barely graspable. When your self-sabotage is high. And then still choosing to somehow pick yourself up after that. And keep going and have the momentum going. Have you accepted all of that as the journey? That's what it really means to really accept the journey towards your success. It's not just accepting the good days and not accepting the days of working hard. Of course, is accepting the hard work and accepting to let go of everything in your life that's not conducive to your goals, and accepting to let go of all of the distractions. But it's also accepting that there's going to be days where you feel like you're hopeless. There's going to be days that you mess up. There's going to be days where you have no idea how you're going to make it work. There's going to be times when you fall into ruts. There's going to be times when it looks like nothing is working in your favor. And my challenge to you is to love even that part of the journey. This was what makes the journey the most interesting after all. Rather than having like, well, what if this, what if that, they're going to happen to you anyways. All these things, all these ways you can mess up, all these challenges that can come to you in your life, it's all coming. My question is whether or not you're going to accept it. And accepting it with an attitude of, even if this happens, even if. Because really, in truth, a lot of us don't even have the courage to really act, to really put ourselves out there. Because our mind, the thief in our mind, will sabotage us long before we actually start to create any momentum. The thief in our mind named doubt that will kill any dreams more than failure ever did. And that's from Prince EA's video on everybody dies, but not everybody lives. And when you choose to actually subjugate yourself to a goal, you're simultaneously choosing all the ups and downs, the emotional ups and downs, the hard work, the sacrifices you have to make. In a previous video where I talk about how you're sacrificing all the time, accepting the journey is all about accepting that you will have to sacrifice so much towards what you want to create, and accepting that you're not a huge thing about I realized, you know, more recently than ever, is that a huge thing about accepting yourself, accepting the journey, is accepting that you may not get a feeling in your mind that it's going to work out. Because in truth, there is no guarantee that it's going to work out. I remember Alex Hormozy saying, you have to outwork your self-doubt. Where you create so much momentum in your mind. You create so much momentum by moving the needle so much that in your mind you see that at this rate you're going to guarantee your success 10 times over. What is that for you? What do you have to do such that not only do you think you can hit your goal, but you can actually hit your goal 10 times over? Right? The whole 10x rule, where if you shoot higher than your goal, you allow for some drag to happen. And if you don't hit your higher goal, you'll likely hit somewhere way higher than your original goal. Because it's not that you set an ambition too high for yourself and miss. The tragic part is if you set a goal too low for yourself and hit. And usually what happens is that we set a goal that's too low for ourselves, and then we don't account for the drag, and we actually hit lower than our goal. Accepting the journey is really just accepting the state of consciousness of not knowing. Being okay with not knowing how it's going to pan out. And being okay to be in that space where you just don't feel safe. Notice that is your level up. That is what would set you apart from most people. Do you get that? Most people would crumble under a state of consciousness where they feel like it's not going to work out, where they, limiting beliefs come in. People will crumble with feelings of no progress being made, but the action's still being taken. A lot of people will crumble. I think it was David Goggins who said something similar, where it's like, there's a lot of moments in life where you come at a crossroads on whether or not you choose to keep going or you choose to quit. And it's in those moments that you choose to keep going and that you choose to have momentum. It is then that you kept going and someone else didn't. There's that moment in your mind where you kind of got to realize that there's a possibility that someone else is going through exactly what you're going through right now. And it's almost like a competition between, an imaginary competition between you and someone else going through the same situation with the same level of circumstances, the same level of feeling, and almost like the universe is testing them to see like, hey, which one's going to move on to the next round? Which one, who is going to do the emotionally difficult thing to keep going? Every time you got up again, someone else didn't. So are you going to choose to keep on going again and again, to get back on the horse again and again? If you slipped and you're feeling like you should quit, When you choose not to quit, someone else did. That's something really valuable I got from David Goggins there. So all these things that you're doing, these emotionally difficult things, right, of accepting the journey and being in a state of consciousness of not knowing how it's going to work out or even if it's going to work out, and still working every day as much as you can such that you can make sure it works out. That's what's going to set you apart from people. And to keep that positive mindset through every moment, that embodying a mindset of abundance over a mindset of scarcity. This is what will set you apart. Because if you're just operating from a mindset of scarcity, you're going to be always asking, well, what if? You're looking for excuses. You're looking for ways out. You're looking for ways to disqualify yourself. Whereas if you're saying, even if this happens, even if that happens, I'm going to keep going. That's choosing to see every obstacle that comes your way as the way. Every challenge that you're facing, it's a challenge that you must, like, you really understand this, right? Every challenge that you're facing is a challenge you must overcome, because that challenge will just keep on coming over and over again. Reality will send you everything you need every challenge you need for the things you need to know to understand. Because if you're not going to get that challenge now, you're going to get that challenge later at some point. Do you realize that? In order to get into the certain corner of reality, a certain aspect of reality, you have to have had a certain level of self-mastery, a certain level of positive mindset, a certain level of abundance mindset. You have to have a certain amount of, ability to hold your word, a certain amount of ability to maintain your habits, to maintain consistency. A certain ability to say no to distractions, a certain ability to say no to vices. What is this for you? I want you to recognize that. And if you're not ready to do absolutely everything to make it work, say no to vices, to say no to all distractions, to say yes to the hard work, to say yes to not knowing if it's going to work out, to say yes to, not even knowing how the fuck you're going to make it, and still working every day towards your goal. Being in that state of consciousness for days, weeks, hours, days, weeks, months, years, but still having a strong vision in your mind of the possibility that you want to create. Being able to see it. This is what's required. And if you're not ready for that, then you haven't really fully accepted the journey that is ahead of you. Do you get that? So, when you're having a bad day on your journey to your life purpose, when everything seems extremely bleak and you're feeling bad about it, just check yourself and ask, have I really accepted the journey? Have I really accepted this part of the journey? Did I realize that I would have to accept this? Notice that. So with that, I'd like to thank you for watching. I want to remind you that in those moments that's difficult, realize that there's a part of the journey that you haven't accepted yet. And I'll see you in the next video.